Hey, this is Jen Johans at filmintuition.com and Film Intuition on social media and Letterboxd. And this is Watch with Jen. Well, I am so excited to have back two of my buddies. We have Dan Mecca and Conor O'Donnell from the B-Side podcast, which is one of my favorites to guest on because your show is so interesting, taking a look at not necessarily the 5 best movies that an actor or director made, but 5 from their career that you want us to, take another look at, which I think is really a cool idea for a show. So thanks for joining me. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having us, and thanks for that lovely intro. Yeah, we don't, they're not all always gems, but we hope they are, That's the finding new and fun things and keeping listeners curious is the name of the game for us.
Exactly. Optimism.
Yeah, I mean, everyone goes into a movie hoping that it's going to be amazing. Yes. And, I'm going to be joining you guys again. I always have the best time talking to you and having you on my show. Of course, we've done episodes on Ron Howard, all kinds of really good stuff over the past few years. And I was on talking about Bruce Willis, I think was maybe the last one.
Oh, wow. That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That was great.
Yeah, we're going to be doing Goldie Hawn, which is kind of fitting because Goldie was the person the first movie was actually originally delivered to and they were hoping to get to star in it, and she wound up producing it. But before we dive into that, Conor and Dan come up with the most creative ideas for episodes. So, do you want to tell me your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Conor, you do it because this is your idea.
Sure. No, one of the reasons I love coming on your pod is because it gives us an opportunity to partly I selfishly try and figure out something that allows us to watch movies that are good. Because like you said, with what we do at the B-side, sometimes we can't always guarantee a good set of movies. So this I kind of backed into, but so we're going to be talking about sort of movies that are unofficial sequels, right? So one of the movies we'll talk about is Enemy of the State, for instance. So in my mind, that's one of the ones that stuck out because I always love when you see these movies that somebody pops up in some, legendary actor or something, and they are maybe unofficially like reprising a role in a way that you could, maybe you got to twist some things around, but in your own headcanon, you could make, a sequel to some other older movie. So I'm always kind of fascinated by that when it comes up, and maybe we'll spot check a couple others along the way and illustrate what I'm talking about. But that was something that I just thought would have been fun, and like I said, gave us an opportunity to just watch some sort of unmitigated bangers, I think. So
yeah, 100%. And I thought this was clever. I remember, I think maybe one of the first that I had you guys on for, you chose like crew members turned director. And that was really clever too. And Ron the Job, which was a really great idea.
Sure, we love competency,
Yes, yeah. And who doesn't love competency for it?
Exactly.
Yeah. And so when we were trying to think of, you could really go down, there's a huge list of these movies where it seems like the actor might be, if we caught up with this guy 30 years later, or this character, he might be doing the same thing. Definitely the conversation and Enemy of the State applies, and we'll get to that. But the first one, I think, is really kind of a fun comparison that was in an article that you guys sent me last week, which is My Blue Heaven and Goodfellas, which both movies are near and dear to my heart. I share a birthday with Nora Ephron. I was on a podcast with Robert Bellissimo where we analyzed Goodfellas. It's one of my favorite movies. And so I love both of these films equally. And what I think is so great is, one's Nora Ephron and one is based on the book by Nick Pileggi, her husband. And when he was interviewing Henry Hill, she was listening or she would answer the phone and he had no idea that she was writing this. And, I love that quote about like, if she was anybody else's wife, because when the movie came out, he didn't get paid, and I do love that. Yeah.
Yeah. My Blue Heaven. So what you're talking about is obviously Goodfellas, Nick Pileggi. That's his, Scorsese adapts it.
The book is Wise Guy, right?
Yeah.
Wise Guys.
And then Ephron writes, My Blue Heaven, which is it Herbert Ross directs it? Is that who it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's funny because I love Goodfellas too, of course, but I think I watched.
And by Goodfellas 2, you mean My Blue Heaven.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think.
Even though it came out first. Yeah.
Funny enough,
prequel kind of,
Funny enough, we just did Steve Martin B-sides on the podcast.
Yeah.
And we didn't really talk about My Blue Heaven, but we could have, because that's certainly a B-side. And it's funny because, that was, Steve Martin's huge in the Mecca house, and My Blue Heaven was like, we watched it all the time, to the point where like when I got older and I learned that like not everybody watched it, in my head, like it was equivalent to kind of like the way people think about Three Amigos now, where like it's just like a movie everybody has seen. I always thought of My Blue Heaven like that. And really it's a movie that's still being discovered. It's not like, I think to this day, it's still not one of his bigger hits. And I just find it to be the funniest, like, Rick Moranis, Joan Allen, Steve Martin.
Or Joan Cusack. I just wrote an article about her for RogerEbert.com, and I talked about that scene, the interrogation scene, I took the wrong guy's car.
Yeah. My favorite, the scene with Joan Cusack, that I love and I think about all the time when I'm doing dishes. And she's like, I'm doing dishes, I'm crying. And then she's like, wait, no, but I was already doing the dishes. And she's just like having a full, oh my God, it's the best. Oh,
yes. God. Yeah, where she whacks a turtle accidentally.
And then the turtle goes
to get the kid's turtle. Replaced. Yes.
Oh my God.
Oh, I grew up watching this movie a million times too. It was one of my faves. How about you, Connor?
No, it's kind of the same. And I think I had mentioned this to Dan off mic when we prepped for the Steve Martin B-side, because I had watched this in prep at the time. And this is one of those movies that I realized I'd seen this movie so many times in like 20-minute chunks on Comedy Central, because they would play it all the time in like the 90s and early 2000s. That when I watched it for Steve Martin B-side, I was like, I think this might be like only the second time I'm watching this movie, like from the beginning. Cause it's just
all
like,
the way through.
You pick it up, you watch it for 20 minutes or, you maybe catch it halfway through, watch it to the end kind of thing. And so, that was, I kind of actually forgot. I knew the backstory behind the movie, but I actually forgot that it literally does open with him moving into the house, like becoming a schnook, as it were. Right. And
moving to San Diego.
And so that was just funny in terms of like, I was like, oh wow, it really it's just right there. I find Steve Martin kind of funny in it because he's not really giving like a specific gangster performance. There's like, and this isn't really a criticism, but like, his accent is like a little Chicago. It's a little New York. It's a little, right. He's kind of like bound. It's just kind of this broader, gangster thing that he's putting on it. But to me, it's so ingrained in my idea of like gangster cinema from such an early age that like, you just think of like, you could melt all this stuff as something that could melt. As something that could have been from a Scorsese movie at some point, or like,
it's dangerous for you to be standing here in the frozen food.
You shouldn't be in the frozen food section. Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, or it's a vegetable. Yes,
vegetable.
Yeah, it's arugula.
I also love when he's going around and people are like, "Have a nice day," and you do hear probably not at Comedy Central, "Hey, fuck you."
The thing I always also think of is young Bill Irwin just dancing, the FBI agent who just can't help himself.
Oh my God, he's great.
He's amazing. Yeah. Tars himself.
Oh, right.
Bill Irwin's the voice of
yeah,
Tars in
that's funny.
Interstellar.
That's a deep cut.
I love it. I love it. I love Bill Irwin.
Yeah, I think this movie is very underrated. I love the chemistry. There are so many scenes that are just incredibly quotable. We could, it's where I first remember learning about the merengue, but the similar thing with you, Dan, where you grow up watching a movie that you love, and then you find out like other kids maybe don't do that. Like I remember, Jumping Jack Flash was like, for whatever reason, my grandma's favorite. And so we would watch it nonstop and then go over to somebody's house and they're like, what is that? And then the parents, you're not allowed to watch that over here.
That's so funny. Yeah, that's funny. Jumping Jack Flash is that's a movie where I think I came to that one late, but to your point, I had friends who loved that movie, and then but it's so weird. It's just funny how it just depends on how you grew up, where you grew up. Mm-hmm. Like also probably where me and Conor grew up, which is like, New York, north of the city. Probably a movie like My Blue Heaven plays better here because it's just like
you also know people that are
there's people who are a little like that to some degree. And I just think Martin is just when he's broad like that, it works. Like he's basically giving a Martin Short performance.
That's interesting.
Right. Like, Martin Short and Steve Martin perform a lot nowadays together, obviously in the show and on the stage. And the beauty of their relationship is like, Steve Martin plays the straight man often. And Martin Short's very broad and incredibly funny. But in My Blue Heaven, Martin is at an 11 the whole time. And I think it's nice. It's nice to see him do that. Cause obviously stuff like The Jerk, he does it too, but like he often is more modulated,
I think it's like, cause you compare it to The Jerk where the rest of the movie is also at 11, right?
Yeah,
to a
exactly.
degree.
Yeah.
And in this, I mean, it helps that, Efron does such a good job writing both Joan Cusack and Rick Moranis in terms of like, they seem like normal-ish people, maybe comically pathetic in a way. Maybe that's like the only thing about them that's like a little more heightened, but like generally speaking, he's allowed to just bounce off of them. So by comparison, he seems like he's just on fire the whole time. But I really do love like that whole, and who's the actress who plays the other cop?
Melanie Mayron.
Yeah. She's so great, and how I just love how she's like immediately taken with Steve Martin.
Take me hostage.
Yeah. It's great. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good. And it's kind of fitting we're talking about it because Rick Moranis, Steve Martin, they were in Parenthood. So look at us. We're like crossing bridges there.
Ron the Job comes back.
Yes. Yeah, the return of Ron the Job. And Ron rides again. I guess Arnold Schwarzenegger was originally going to be Antonelli, which is bananas to me, and turned it down.
I don't think I knew that.
That's a different movie.
Totally different movie.
Did he do Kindergarten Cop?
Yes, he did Kindergarten Cop. Danny DeVito turned it down. That would have been around like Other People's Money. I think he was in 3 movies or so back to back. My Cousin Vinny, just like right in there.
Yeah,
and
sure.
So Steve Martin, who was already attached, kind of like stepped into that role, and yeah, he owns it. I think it's a really good one for him.
DeVito seems like a curious one to think about because it almost feels like the movie might be like a little meaner if it's DeVito. Because like Martin seems like the kind of mobster where like he could also be your buddy. Like if you're his friend, he's going to take care of you and he's going to be loyal to you to the day you die. DeVito has like, as a gangster would have like scummy, like constantly maybe scheming to screw you over energy, right? Like that kind of thing. Now, granted, Martin has his schemes throughout the movie, right? The whole time. Yeah. But like, I feel like that bounces way, cause I on a rewatch, I felt so bad for Joan Cusack just in terms of like, here's this person just being good at their job, speaking of which, right? And this dude's just like one-upping her because of all sorts of reasons, right? And the movie, I think, again, gets away with it enough where he doesn't ever seem like a villain for it, right? Like it's
Yeah,
just this side of likable. Whereas I feel like if it's anybody else, so scenes like that play
that's a good
way worse, you
point.
know?
Yeah, he has to be charming, just like we have that with Ray Liotta.
Right.
Goodfellas is a movie I've watched a million times, and I just rewatched it a couple weeks ago for fun. And it's interesting when you watch it, like the first 400 times, it takes a while for you to finally realize, like, oh, this is all of his narrative. He doesn't do anything. He's like along for the ride guy. Like, I was just there, and that's
Yeah.
when they killed Billy Bats, or I
Right.
was, I'm just in the car. And so, like, there's that line at the end, like, don't give me the babe in the woods routine about Lorraine Bracco's character, but you can kind of, like, that is the routine he's been doing the whole movie. Like, he's selling a performance.
Yeah.
And I feel like Steve Martin is doing a performance, which is great.
Right.
Yeah.
That he's carrying over that same sort of
Yeah.
bullshit artist energy a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny how not similar, but like in the same register the performances are because
Yeah.
before that third act Coke paranoia, you do really love Ray Liotta.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
And
yeah.
then when the Coke is happening and he's paranoid and he's screaming at Karen, it becomes a different thing, obviously by design. But like, but he's so likable, right? He
Mm-hmm.
not unlike, it's a different thing, but not unlike Martin, And then, God, yeah,
But
there's so much. I guess it's funny to think about My Blue Heaven because it certainly got like middling reviews when it came out.
Yeah.
And it is one of those movies where you just kind of think maybe the world just settled into the register of the movie. Like there's a lot of broad things in it, but it is just so funny. Like
Mm.
it is just a funny movie. Like the stuff works. And I wonder if it just in a world where Goodfellas is beloved, there's just now more room for My Blue Heaven. You know what I mean? Like
sure.
Mm-hmm.
in the culture or something.
Especially because it feels so different. Like it's not, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
not.
but like the way like a spoof, like, like Robin Hood Men in Tights, we love it now.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
Right. Spaceballs, not well reviewed. We love it now. Right. And it's like because Star Wars only grows because the Robin Hood adaptations keep coming out.
Right.
Right. The jokes they live
Mm-hmm.
on. It's almost like that a little bit. Right. It's like, but Goodfellas is one of the great films. Right. So
Yeah. And Sopranos probably made it more watchable too.
of course.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Certainly Tony Soprano has a little bit of that kind of
Yes.
likability
I mean,
to a degree.
they name check him all the time, right?
Yeah.
Henry Hill.
Yes. Yeah, they do. That's right.
Right. There's a lot of that. Like anytime anyone may or may not be a snitch, I feel like they always get called like a Henry Hill motherfucker. Like it's that kind
Yes.
of like, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Exactly. And then I thought it was really kind of a funny little twist of fate. I don't know, do you guys, if you've had him on the podcast or if you know, do you guys know Peter Avellino?
Oh, we've not had him on the podcast,
No.
but I
Oh,
follow him on
yeah,
social media.
he is wonderful. He made the best joke today. On social media, he was talking about the star of our next one, Mr. Harrison Ford, and Peter wrote, "We used to make movies where Harrison Ford wore a suit and yelled at people while pointing at them." And I love that so much because that is what he does. And somebody actually pulled up a bunch of photos and it goes from like Witness to, the Air Force One.
He is kind of an all-time like finger wagger.
Yes.
Like cause even I feel like even in the Indiana Jones movies and even moments as Han Solo,
Definitely.
he like does, that's, yeah. Wow. I
Yeah,
don't think I ever actually.
I didn't put that together, although it makes a little bit of sense and it ties in because Peter is Italian and we're known for talking with our hands all of the time. And so we're carrying it over. We had some more gestures, more expressions. And also that dude can sell a line. I mean, we're talking about Air Force One with, get off my plane. I saw this movie in the theater. Did you guys?
No, it's funny.
I remember when it was out, but I didn't see it until it hit either like pay-per-view or VHS or whatever.
So my vivid memory of Air Force One is we watched it on a sleepover at my house with all my friends, and I remember because it was rated R and we were still pretty young, my mom called all of my friends' parents and made sure like, hey, we're going to watch it. We're going to put on Air Force One for the boys. Is that okay? And they all kind of had to be like, yeah, it's fine. And I just remember, I so vividly remember watching Air Force One in my family room.
Oh,
Probably like most 10, 11-year-old boys literally being like, well, this is the best movie I've ever seen. Surely surely there will not be a better movie I'll ever see than Air Force One, you know?
Right.
Then you see Executive Decision. No, I'm just
you're
kidding.
like, uh-oh.
No, joke, dude. Very good movie.
I love that movie.
I love that movie. But to your point about the way he delivers a line and him kind of being like the patriarchal, stern America's Dad as compared to something like Tom Hanks, kind of softer America's Dad, is even the beginning of Air Force One when Ford has that speech. He's like, "How dare we? How dare we?" I'm like,
he goes off book. He goes,
yeah.
President Jim Marshall is his name, right?
Yeah, President James Marshall. Yeah,
and he goes off book.
He flew more rescue missions under my command than anybody else.
I'm reading here. His name was originally President Jack Ryan. Yeah.
Well, so this is okay. So this is probably the stretchiest of this theme.
Oh, really? It kind of works.
Yeah, I agree.
No, it works. It works. Yeah. But I'm just saying in the sense of like, he makes, Alec Baldwin is Jack Ryan in Hunt for Red October.
Yes.
Somewhat controversially, right? And there are different versions of the story, right? In one version of the story, they offered Baldwin Patriot Games. He turned it down. He did, A Prelude to a Kiss, and he did Streetcar Named Desire on Broadway, which, in fairness to Alec Baldwin, is a great performance, right? Like he was like lauded for his Stanley Kowalski. And so that's one version of the story. The other version, the Alec Baldwin version, is like they always wanted Harrison Ford once he became available, and they kind of engineered the schedule to basically force Baldwin into a situation in which they could, push him away and bring in Harrison Ford. Now, whatever the case may be, Harrison Ford plays Jack Ryan in Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger, hit movies directed by Philip Noyce, right?
Yeah, I was just wondering that. Yeah, it was Noyce and this is Peterson. Yeah,
but then Wolfgang Peterson makes Air Force One, which I don't think was ever gonna be a Jack Ryan story. But in the Tom Clancy books, if you keep reading them, in the book Executive Orders, which I think came out in like 96.
Yeah.
Right, which is the year before this movie. Jack Ryan, through a series of unfortunate events, becomes president of the United States. So in the books, he becomes president.
Right.
So when you watch Air Force One, the Jim Marshall character is kind of a bookish, charming war hero like Jack Ryan, who is the president and forced into a situation, right? So it is the vibes are very like...
He's like maybe a little more, because obviously Jack Ryan by design is always out of...
He's a little less of a bookworm.
I was going to say Jack Ryan by design is always out of his depth, right? That's the whole point.
He's like a nerd. Yeah.
And so there's a little less of that, but I do think one thing I always forget about this movie, is that every time Harrison Ford kills somebody, he's like so uneasy with it, which I think is like a really nice touch, right?
Yeah.
He's like, obviously Bruce Willis is the great, performance in these kinds of movies of like guy who's totally out of his depth, but like really figuring it out and like just blazing his way through it, but like John McClane is never really affected when he writes stuff on a dude's shirt in blood, for God's sake, right? Like that dude is not affected by the things that he's doing, at least in the immediate sense, right?
I mean, he's a New York City cop.
Well, sure. But my point is, I think I liked that touch and I had kind of forgotten about that.
The humanism.
He's very vulnerable. Yeah.
It's good that it is Harrison Ford, and Harrison actually wanted more of that. They originally had written a scene where he was supposed to like sit down after we think he gets on an escape pod after the plane is taken over by Gary Oldman, and he doesn't. And Ford is like, no, if your family's in danger, you're going to keep, doing that. Like he would be so worried about his wife and kid. And so a little of all actors want to play the hero, but then also, he did want to make it more of a family story. But it's a good thing it was Harrison, because originally it was going to be Kevin Costner who did The Postman. And like you really can't link together No Way Out and this, because if you did, it'd be like, whoa,
Yeah,
a Russian operative in the White House? How would that ever happen?
There's
you
a
guys?
whole.
I like that. I like that though.
That is interesting.
It's fascinating. I will say this not to divert us too much, but a thing, if you read about the 90s specifically, and you read about kind of behind the scenes Hollywood and stuff, and there's specifically this one book, I think it's called Tales from Development Hell, I think is the name of the book.
Oh yeah.
That's a good book.
Connor, I think we shared a copy of that book.
Yeah.
And in that book, each chapter is like an unrealized hot property, mostly from the 90s. And like 5 of the 12 of them are like, they went out to Kevin Costner and Harrison Ford, right? It's like they competed over many roles.
Yeah.
And
even Jack Ryan.
Even Jack Ryan.
Yeah.
And I find it fascinating because like I get why that is true, but they're so different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
totally
it's
different
such
movie.
an interesting Hollywood commentary thing where it's like, and like Michael Douglas is also in these conversations, who is so different, where you're like, you're just kind of like, it's just funny how Hollywood works, where they're just kind of like, well, they'll just make it their own version of it.
It's an interesting, like 4-quadrant chart you could map out between like Douglas, Baldwin, Costner, Ford.
Right. And Baldwin kind of couldn't hold the center.
Right. But Douglas and Baldwin are sort of in one half and have a certain kind of energy. Cause like Costner, for instance, like he doesn't make sense to me as Jim Marshall in this movie.
No.
But when he almost played Jack Ryan in Hunt for Red October, I can kind of see that. Like a young, dude.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. So that's, but I do think it's funny because I think it's such a close rendering that, and this also isn't that long after Clear and Present Danger, right? It's only like three years, right?
Which I liked better than the other ones, actually. I might be
Clear and Present Danger.
Yeah,
I like it too.
I love it.
Is that your favorite Jack Ryan?
I think so. Might have just been Willem Dafoe, but I love it.
He's good. He's good.
3 years, Connor. You're right. 3 years. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's all to say. It's like not even just visually speaking. It's not. It looks like the same Harrison Ford. You know what I mean? And I think
he's more handsome in Air Force One.
Well, yeah, because he's a little more dignified than he is, I think, in Clear and Present Danger. But that said, it really, like from a background standpoint, I think there's less mental gymnastics you need to do. You know, even in My Boo Heaven coming off of Goodfellas, where you almost have to imagine that whole act of the cocaine paranoia doesn't exist if you wanted to watch those as like a movie and its follow-up, right? Yeah. Where with this, like if Anne Archer is the first lady, do you know what I mean?
Pretty much.
And Thora Birch is the daughter again, you're basically like, oh, it's the same it's Jack
story.
Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah. And that escape pod thing, is an Escape from New York. And I'm tying it together with Kurt, who was it that 97 was Executive Decision?
Yeah,
I love, character actors save the day, Oliver Platt, and yes.
And if I could spin it back to an earlier one of our episodes, Executive Decision, a crew member turned director.
Yes.
Stuart Baird, famous editor Stuart Baird, his directorial debut.
Yeah.
And then he went on to make U.S. Marshals, and then he made Star Trek Nemesis.
Yeah.
And then he made Star Trek Nemesis, and he was like, I think I'll go back to editing.
He made U.S. Marshals. That one was lucky. And
he still edits. Stuart Baird, I believe Stuart Baird still edits, which I love. I love that he directed like 3 times and was like,
he edited Collateral? Am I making that up?
Yeah, I think I'm going to pull up he has a crazy IMDb. But he's a great editor.
Yeah. This movie, I think one thing that stands out to me too is Gary Oldman, I think, is so good in this movie. And it's to me almost the kind of performance you might take for granted, because like it doesn't seem like he's flexing a lot of muscles, at least maybe muscles that are hard for him to flex. But he's so effective. And I was trying to think of like, not to bring it back to Die Hard, but I feel like you kind of got to, right? Like I was just trying to think of all the canon of Die Hard comps, right? Of which this is one. You've Speed and other movies, right? I don't know if there's another person, and Dan, you and I said maybe if you want to consider Jeremy Irons in Die Hard 3, but like Oldman is one of the only, I think, villain actors who has come close to capturing something like Alan Rickman in Die Hard,
sure.
and that level of like just quality of a villain performance in one of these movies.
There's even like kind of a callback to The Professional with his everyone. We kind of have that. Yeah.
Want to lecture me on the rules of war? He's great. And like, what I like about him, I guess not dissimilar from the Alan Rickman thing. And I think the family thing that you're talking about too, Jen, just also kind of helps dial it all in, is like, the scene where he's holding his family hostage is like, for like 2 seconds, you're like,
freaky.
I think Gary Oldman might kill these people. Cause like he kills people in the movie, he's like, he's not bluffing about any of it. There are like many, bystanders and hostages that get killed. And so it really is rendered in a way where you're like, oh yeah, no, this guy's like, he means business.
Well, and I think the two secret weapons of the movie are Dean Stockwell and Glenn Close.
I was just going to say, we got to talk about Glenn. Yeah.
Sure.
And Dean Stockwell's great. Yeah.
Glenn is a goddess in this movie. She is.
Yeah.
perfect.
She is. You're like immediately, oh, she's the VP. He's so fucked.
Yeah. And incredibly, she's so good. She's such a good listener in this movie, which like, again,
very
that's like
active
almost,
listener.
Yes. That's like almost all the performance requires to do, just by the nature of like, they're sitting in the Situation Room, just listening to what's happening on Air Force One. And like when, Ford, I almost said Costner, when Ford has that struggle in the sort of underbelly of the plane kind of early-ish in the movie, and they're just sort of listening to half of it and they have no idea what's going on. There's that incredible moment where there's like a pause where they like don't actually know.
Don't know
the
if he
president
died
just
or,
died.
yeah.
And so she's just like, and the minute they hear him talk again, you just see her. It's this great reaction because you can see her have this uncontrollable sense of like relief where like you almost believe she might start crying, but you can also see her like rein that in real time, which is, I think is incredible.
And Jen made this point before, and it's so true. Harrison Ford, like a great movie star, can deliver lines like the dumbest lines, like perfect. And Glenn has that too. And they dance a beautiful waltz together when Harrison Ford's like, Catherine, if you give a mouse a cookie.
He's gonna want milk.
And then Glenn Close is like, he's gonna want a glass of milk. And you're like, fuck yes,
you're like,
dude.
Hell yeah,
Stupidest line arguably ever written in the history of cinema. And I'm watching it and I'm like, this logic is flawless. I'm like, this makes perfect sense.
It's just 3D chess, guys. Yeah.
A really significant,
they cracked it.
I think a really significant part of that is like, I realized watching this, like, I miss Wolfgang Peterson so much.
Oh my
watching
God.
this movie, like, cause he was such a master at that. Like, you watch a movie like Troy, a movie I go to bat for, a movie, wall to wall with dumb lines, right?
Oh my
but
God.
That, like, he knows exactly, like, who needs to say them, how they need to be said. And again, it helps when you have Harrison Ford and Glenn Close, but it's just like, this to me is like, and again, I'm not really knocking it, but as you watch it, you're like, this should be the dumbest movie on the planet. Like, and I don't recall, I didn't get a chance to look at like what the contemporaneous reviews of it were.
It was loved.
Okay. Yeah.
No, the reviews were positive.
People immediately like got it. Okay. That's nice. Cause
I mean, it was the way we're all talking about it. Like it was.
Of the time, it was like, it's better than Speed 2, guys. Yeah.
Sure.
I think I would say it was like a celebrated buffoonery thing. Like people were like, if it is to be a popcorn film, let it be this.
Yeah,
right?
which I think still really holds true when you watch it, where you're like, oh wow, these, and again, not to bemoan this very labored point, but like, we used to make them like this, you know what I mean? And they used to be directed by Wolfgang Peterson, and they used to star Harrison Ford, and they used to rule,
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mr. Tony Scott, guys. Yeah, when we're talking about entertaining popcorn movies. And I just saw you, Dan, and you said something like, is Deja Vu the best movie? And it's like, yes.
with Blake.
I love Deja Vu so much. And so I was just all of a sudden like, oh, this is perfect. We have to talk Tony Scott
funny.
because this is another one I remember. Actually, I remember going to Celebrity by which was Woody's movie
the Woody
that
Allen
year.
movie. Yeah, Celebrity.
Yeah. And my parents went to go see Enemy of the State, and then I went with friends the following week, and like we came out and compared notes, and I probably should have gone with them to Enemy of the State.
I love that you saw Celebrity.
Yeah,
I was the nerdiest kid.
Yeah. God bless you. That's amazing.
And I'm admitting it. Yeah. I'm gonna be canceled, you guys.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
And here's what's funny about, anyway, we don't need to talk about Celebrity. What's fascinating about that movie, which I always say it's obviously a very underseen, not very good Woody Allen movie. Mm-hmm. Kenneth Branagh in that movie, who I love Kenneth Branagh. That is one of the bad performances, because Kenneth Branagh, who I love, is like doing a Woody Allen impression, and it is insane. It is. You were like, why? What happened here? This is such a miscalculation. Anyway,
nobody stopped anybody.
Nobody was like, hey, so this is just, let's not.
You just imagine on the first day when he's sharing a scene with someone, and they're like, that's a choice, and they just have to, which I've heard actors sometimes do, like when they see somebody and they just kind of look like, okay, like what the hell?
Kenny just made choices and nobody stopped him. And so
I mean, look, in fairness, it works, right? Like if you think about like, Nicolas Cage in Moonstruck is such a crazy choice, but it works perfectly. So it can work. It just didn't work there. But, I think I did see Enemy of the State in the theater.
I saw this in theaters.
Yeah, that was like the difference between 97 and 98. I think by then I was like trying to. Because
this was this a Thanksgiving movie, like around there? When did this come out?
It would have been around awards bait time. Yeah. So my guess would be, because
a holiday release.
Yeah, something around there.
Because I have the memory in my head is I like had
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I remember specifically this was like that we all, like my siblings and whatever, like people were in town for Thanksgiving. We all went to go see this movie together. And like we mentioned before, obviously it's the sort of pseudo sequel to The Conversation. To the extent it maybe requires
pretty openly.
Yeah, it maybe requires technically a little. The one thing I forgot on a rewatch is that they actually give you more background on Gene Hackman in the movie than I remember. Mm-hmm. So that stuff doesn't necessarily line up with The Conversation, but it almost does in a way that you could, like I said, with a little bit of mental gymnastics, you could be like, yeah, Harry Call was never his name. He had a different name, and he changed his name or went to go work for the NSA. But it's really, I mean, obviously inspired casting. It almost feels like the kind of thing that you have to, and I don't know if this is how they developed the movie, but like, it feels like the thing you have to lock in, because if it's not going to be Gene Hackman playing the Brill character, then like almost what's the point if you like don't have that guy? Sean
Connery was who they went first, and he said no. And I mean, I think it's perfect for Gene Hackman. Yeah. And also I think, he can be was a little difficult. I mean, depending on the stories you heard on set, and you need somebody like Tony Scott, and also his energy is so great, because Gene makes everything look easy, but he's also, which we saw in Royal Tenenbaums, has this great mischievous sense of humor. I mean, we saw it as far back as Night Moves and stuff, but it didn't really get used a lot. And so I just like their interplay in this. But to me, this movie, I don't know why I forgot. It's like character actor central. It reminded me of like Thin Red Line,
and half
where
of them
like
went to the
everybody's
same barber.
in the damn movie. That's this. Yeah.
One of my favorite moments. I rewatched this a couple of days ago. One of my absolute favorite moments is when Jack Black is like doing all the tech stuff, and he just turns to whoever, he's like, hey, and he takes his coffee cup, he goes, he's like, more coffee, and he like turns the coffee cup. There's so many good little moments like that, because in the Surveillance Stand it's like Seth Green, you have
Jamie Kennedy,
you have Jack Black, and then in the field you have Scott Conn, Jake Busey, Barry Pepper,
Lauren
Dean.
Lauren Dean is like the second in command with John Boyd. It's amazing.
It really is. It's a perfect example of the kind of
Gabriel
thing.
Byrne,
right.
Gabriel Byrne plays fake Brill,
for a minute, but it really is like a no small parts kind of movie where like every menial thing is populated by someone that seems like they could, either go away or stick around or whatever. And so even like with the Gabriel Byrne of it all, for instance, like if you went into obviously Gene Hackman's in the movie, so it's, the illusion kind of goes away relatively quickly. But if you didn't, like if you watched this movie cold, you would also just believe Gabriel Byrne was going to be the guy that like would, shepherd Will Smith through the rest of the movie. Like it's good casting in that regard where you feel like he's going to stick around. And I love how Tony Scott, I feel like knows how to just really take something that, again, it's the Wolfgang Peterson thing where it's like it should be a dumb movie that doesn't really move well and maybe collapses into complete nonsense, but like the rhythms at which he moves things along make it undeniable, right? Like even if things do get silly, they're like moving too fast and too frenetically for you to even worry about it. I mean, this is one of 3 Tony Scott movies where the main characters find themselves at the center of a standoff amidst all the other parties, and they wind up shooting each other. Like that happens 3 times where it's like Tony,
that's right.
like
True Romance,
and then it happens in Domino. Later after this, and it's just a funny thing where you're kind of like
90s, this era.
Yeah. And it's not, it's not even necessarily that Tony's specifically calling those shots all the time. He doesn't write the scripts or anything, but it is just funny as a device where like the end of this movie, the swing that it takes to like, for Will Smith's plan to work is such utter nonsense. But at the same time, it's all happening so fast that you're like, I don't care. This is great. Like, just keep it moving. And you have Tom Sizemore holding it down, who's also in the standoff at the end of True Romance, which is funny.
That's right.
Yeah. And of course, with Gene, Crimson Tide, was that 95 or 96?
95.
Okay.
95,
yeah.
So not too long before. Yeah.
Yeah. So this was cool though, because he was more like, there you saw him be like the hard ass. But what I like about this is he is kind of a mess. He's all over the place, but then we do learn that stuff. I will say what you were saying, Connor, too. There's a lot of info dumps and a lot of like, don't think about this movie too hard for like more than 3 minutes. But at the same time, it's super prescient, you guys. Like all the stuff, like now,
oh my God,
on the news,
David
plants here, and like our phones are listening to us. Everything, makes you paranoid.
You could not. I don't. I think this movie as just a Tony Scott actioner is basically perfect and doesn't really need to be changed. So I don't encourage anybody do this, but you could basically just remake this movie and like not really change too much.
It'd be like facial recognition.
Black Hat wishes. No, I'm just kidding.
No, you know what? But to the deja vu mentioned earlier. What I love about Enemy of the State, when you think about the next decade of Tony Scott's career, is to me, this comes after The Fan, which.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that in the theater too. I'm a little bit older than you guys.
Yeah, The Fan. I've come around on The Fan a little bit. It's definitely probably one of my lesser favorite.
Yeah, it's not
Tonys. Great. But what I like about Enemy of the State through Unstoppable, what you get with Tony aesthetically and also just practically in terms of just the way he tells the story is the genius of Tony Scott really emerges from here, Enemy of the State, all the way through Unstoppable, which is to say, like, he's mixing formats, he's mixing digital with film, he's mixing aspect ratios, he's mixing surveillance footage with regular film and digital later on. He's like bleeding frames, right? This happens more in Man on Fire and Domino, but like overexposure, like stutter stepping stuff, like ramping up frames, right? Like all the kind of vertical spinning around, right? You see some of that here. It gets crazier and crazier. Spy Game, there's like a whole, one of my favorite things about Spy Game is like, speaking of like making exposition interesting, there's that whole scene in Spy Game where it's just an exposition dump on top of a hotel roof, and the only the only coverage of the scene is a helicopter just flying around them. And it's like, I remember in Roger Ebert's review, he was negative on Spy Game, and he's like, it's an insane way to cover a scene. And I'm like, Roger, shut up, Roger.
If by insane you mean
it's so cool. God bless you, but you're so wrong.
But you're right. You're so right though, because there's tons of that kind of stuff happening.
That's what I'm saying. Enemy of the State, I think, is kind of where it starts. Yeah. And it just, to the point where
to cover a conversation, he starts literally like with, hey, let me just redo the opening scene from The Conversation. And like,
but I love it. It's an hour into the movie.
Yeah.
It's Lisa Bonet and Will Smith, and it's cut for the modern moment. It's not cut. It's not cut like
he's not recreating it frame by frame, but he is doing the stuff with the audio and stuff like that. Like, so aesthetically, he's like,
I love it. Yeah.
It. But I think stuff like that is so smart because like, and like we said, like you mentioned, Dan, like it is like, we kind of, I think, half jest about Air Force One and My Blue Heaven, but like the DNA of this movie feels so indebted deliberately to the conversation that like, I think anybody involved would be the first to tell you that that's.
Well, and there is a direct, Tony Scott includes a photo in the movie of Gene Hackman as Eric Call.
What's Brill's actual revealed name? It's like, Eugene, is it
something
Eugene
like that?
Yeah. Edward Lyle. Is that his name? Edward Lyle.
Edward Lyle. But do they say it's his real name?
That's this is where I get to the mental gymnastics part.
I don't know that you're meant to think
you could, I guess, pretend that Edward Lyle was never a real name and Harry Call was his real name, or vice versa.
I don't know. I believe that a little bit.
But what I like about, just to go to Hackman real quick, what I do love is it seems like he does treat it as if like, okay, this poor dude from The Conversation, like, what does his psyche look like, 20 years later or whatever? And it really does like feel like a continuation of the same performance. Like, this is absolutely the same dude who at one point was
he's still playing that saxophone.
Yeah, he's right. That saxophone's playing in his head. He's still seeing the camera go back and forth.
He's the wire coming out of the wall.
He's still pulling the wires.
He still remembers the blood coming out of the toilet and the, and
I think you still get a top 5, a top 10 at least, Gene Hackman line delivery when he said he meets Will Smith. He's like, "You're kind of a jerk, aren't you?" You're kind of a jerk.
It's and this is the thing to your point before, Jen. Like, maybe like, again, depending on who you believe or the stories you hear about Hackman's overall demeanor.
Oh yeah.
Let's just whatever for the sake of argument. Let's assume it's all true. I think somebody like Tony Scott, like.
Bring out a different
uses
side.
it because it's such an antagonistic chemistry that they have that's really great, and it's different. It's not the same kind of antagonistic chemistry that he has with like Denzel Washington and in Crimson Tide. It's like a totally different thing. And I think, to Will Smith's credit, I kind of forgot how much he's sort of just taking it on the chin in this movie. Like, Will Smith seems like an idiot in this movie in like a very believable way, not in like in
he's basically Roger O. Thornhill in North by Northwest.
That's what I mean. Like, idiot in the way that any of us would be an idiot if suddenly the NSA wanted to come after us and kill us and whatever.
I mean, he's a lawyer and he's smart, and there's like the good opener, and and you need somebody with his movie star charm and his gravitas. I mean, but I will say, as much as I love Will Smith's energy in this era, he gets acted off the screen a lot in this movie, especially when you have Regina King, like,
as
just
his
hitting
wife.
homers every
And again,
second.
and all of their scenes are also basically antagonistic. They're all because he cheated on her, right? They're all like, and so as a movie star performance, I think sometimes that stuff doesn't get enough credit where someone can just be like, all right, I'm going to hold the center, but I'm also just going to be the guy that everyone can be like, you dummy, or
but this was
whatever it is.
You got to remember, this was Will Smith's like adult performance.
Well,
like,
right,
because it was the Fresh Prince. He had been in supporting roles, and then it was Aliens. Like, he was in Alien movies.
Right.
And then
and again,
even
he did like 6 days or no, 6
degrees of separation. Great
Yeah.
performance. Like, he had moments for sure. But when he, like, Bad Boys, right, to Independence Day, to Men in Black, where he is funny, right? Like he's a funny on screen, and not that he's not funny as Robert Dean, but like, this is like a thriller.
But he's kind of the dude who's like. He's sort of top dog in those movies. And again, even in Men in Black, obviously Tommy Lee Jones is kind of the top dog, but like Will Smith's not really taking any of his shit either, right? Like, he kind of pushes back. Whereas in this, he's just like, and like,
but he's like,
really
he's not that likable. He's a compromised guy in this movie.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a very like,
thinking about this era too, we had all those Michael Bay movies, and I think some of the shots and the way those were, like, it was almost like, okay, Junior, sit down. Like, when Tony really did, like you were saying, Dan, really upped his game with inventive camera angles. I mean, he was always doing stuff like that as far back as, the early
Top
80s.
Gun.
Top Gun for sure. And, but this really was kind of, he started to do some of the intercutting and stuff a little bit in Crimson Tide more, but yes, or at the end of True Romance. But I mean, and I was thinking, what else was around this time? And you had The Rock, and you had Armageddon, and exactly. And
I think a lot of it, I think a lot of it is, and we were lucky enough, it was a few years ago now, Darius Wolski, who's a great cinematographer, he came on our podcast, The B-Side, and Darius Wolski was so involved, so essential to the 90s music video moment. Yeah. And we talked about it with him, and we talk about it a lot on the podcast. You can inform a lot of the aesthetic that still exists today, and existed a lot in the early aughts, from the music videos, right? People like Alex Proyas, David Fincher, Hype Williams, right? Like those guys, Mark Romanek, like,
yes,
that aesthetic, like, that's where Tony's pulling from that a little, and his own work too. But like,
it's almost like this: they're learning from Tony, and then Tony's learning from them, and it's
Fight Club, right? Fight Club's in 1999, right? Like, you're going to see this like acid tinged kind of, frantically edited thing. That really comes from like short form MTV video in some respects. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, this was a really good one. I had not seen it. I looked it up. It was actually before like the pandemic that I happened to watch it. So 2019 was the last time I'd seen it. And just within the span of like 7 years, I could not believe, just watching it again. Yep, we have that technology. We have that. We have that. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's insane.
The sequence where they're like,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just thinking, a moment that made me feel that way was like, even just the sequence where the computer is generating sort of the scene of the item getting dropped in the bag by Jason Lee, like, where it's like, the computer's just sort of making it up, but it probably looked like this. I'm like, this bitch, that's what's happening literally right now. Anyway, sorry.
You can do that now.
Dan, I cut you
off.
I was
going to ask you, do you have a favorite Tony Scott movie?
Deja Vu.
Yeah, it is. Is it? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's that or Spy Game for me. Those are my two favorites.
Spy Game is high up for me, for sure.
I think it's that. I love True Romance.
I love True Romance too.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I also love Unstoppable. I gotta say
that's
that.
the thing. The truth is, and this is me and Blake were kind of saying this when we talked.
There are no bad ones.
They're kind of, he really, yeah. Even Beverly Hills Cop 2, which I did not have fond memories of when I rewatched it somewhat recently. I came away being like, man,
it's better than you think.
Incredible.
Yeah.
It looks incredible. It's so beautiful. Yeah.
I gotta rewatch it. It's been a long time.
Yeah. There's so much, fog. It's so funny, like the lighting.
It's like Black Rain, like that was that era too, which came right out of MTV.
Which is kind of Ridley kind of doing a Tony Scott movie a little bit.
Yeah, and this feels a little more Ridley than Tony in places.
Sure.
A little bit. And then we talked about, when Ridley does The Counselor, that's very Tony Scott.
That's a Tony movie.
Yeah, that's a Tony movie. Yeah.
No, I thought this was a great little triple feature to talk about. Are there any other movies you want to give a shout out to?
Oh my God!
One that I actually, one that I realized last night because I'm watching it in prep, where we have an Eddie Murphy episode coming up. So I watched Metro last night.
That was pretty good.
I kind of liked it. There will be more about that on the B side, but. I did have a moment where I was like, this has to be like the thing he wanted to make Beverly Hills Cop 3 be. And then it just wasn't, cause like the tone of that movie is weird. It's like darker. It's like gets really dark, but like it takes place in San Francisco, but you judge a couple things in that movie and he could be Axel Foley. It's like not, so that sort of, that was kind of a one that popped in my head. I had initially mentioned when we talked about this, the Paul Newman movie Twilight, which
that's right.
Which it kind of feels like the unofficial third Harper movie after
Harper Drowning Pool. Yeah.
You could basically just change that too. And then,
the one that the list, the AV Club list, Jen, that I had sent to the email chain.
Yeah.
The one that would have been cool to talk about too is Pale Rider is kind of the more morally, is the chaotic good side of High Plains Drifter, which is
I thought that was a smart idea.
Which is chaotic evil, right? Because like High Plains Drifter, he's kind of like a demon. Yeah. And in Pale Rider, he's kind of like an angel, and I think that's cool, and you would have to think Clint had a thought about that when he made it. Pale Rider, I think, is like one of the great westerns.
It's great.
I love Pale Rider.
Pale Rider, he's the preacher in that, right? That's
I believe so.
One. Yeah. That's a great movie.
With Michael Moriarty from the mid-'80s,
Yeah, that's a great movie. You mentioned it before, probably also a bit of a stretch, but certainly the same kind of stunt casting. The Rock, I think, is definitely kind of one of those movies. It's literally like, hey, what if Connery, what if James Bond got caught? And then, and you could very easily make that assumption. But,
War Inc. is obviously
Gross Point
fairly direct, Gross Point Blank.
Yeah.
To the point where like I think Steve Pink directed War Inc. and like him and John Cusack wrote Gross Point Blank. There's a lot of commonalities there. Which I guess I wish War Inc. was a little better. It's not a great movie. But,
I do too.
Yeah, but I still like that
some
it
of the
exists.
ideas. But,
it's just not.
But it is right, because even sort of plot wise, like the setup, because isn't in Gross Point Blank the whole thing is that like Aykroyd keeps wanting to get Cusack to just like join this broader sort of hitman's union, and War Inc. is almost just the extension of that concept, basically.
Like what if countries became it was it's a good idea, like Jen, like you said, it's cool, it exists, it just doesn't really.
Is it Marissa Tomei?
Marissa Tomei.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which I did on the B side.
Yes,
yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, I am so excited. Look at us. I mean, it's almost like we planned this. We're pros. No, I am so excited to come on and talk Goldie Hawn with you guys pretty soon.
I also want to thank everyone for listening, especially my patrons who support the show and help fund my research, equipment, film rentals, RSS fees, and more for as little as $1 per month at the Film Intuition Patreon, which is the home base for the show. Other ways you can support the podcast are by sharing, reviewing, and subscribing to Watch with Jen wherever you get your podcasts, and also checking out the cool merch store hosted and created by our talented logo designer, Kate Gabrielle. You can find the merchandise store, including shirts, tote bags, stickers, and more by visiting filmintuition.com and clicking on the shop link. The show's theme music is Solo Acoustic Guitar by Jason Shaw and is available in the Free Music Archive. Well, until next time, please take care and happy movie watching. This is Jen Johans at filmintuition.com and Film Intuition on social media and Letterboxd. And this is Watch with Jen.